Alright guys, Gambling Kiwi. Today we just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the rabbits. The South Sydney Rabbits and the rabbit infestation that is taking place in the NRL this year, 2023. The rabbits just seem like super soldiers. They just seem unstoppable. They're on a tear at the moment. They're on a 5-game win streak, a very impressive 5-game win streak, including wins over the Broncos and the Storm there. And it's not what they've done that impresses me so much. It's looking at their schedule and what they're about to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And before we jump into it, let's just go back and recap on what they've done so far this season. Now, they started with a win. The Sharks were at home and they beat them. That's an awesome, awesome win. Can we pump that up a bit? Not really. Okay, leave it alone. Alright, but round one, they beat the Sharks at home. A nice win too. They did lose to the Panthers, and then they did lose to the Roosters. Now, as a Roosters fan, we're going to have to enjoy that for the rest of the season, because that's going to be the highlight point. And so, just take a minute to rub that goodness all over you. It feels good, doesn't it? It feels good. And then they came back and they beat the Eagles, but they did beat the Eagles, and that was the Eagles' high point of the season. They were looking really good at that point. They were on fire, and the Rabbits extinguished them. And they then went to lose at home to the Storm. So far, they only had 2 wins, 3 losses. So a less than average start here for the Rabbits, but a very hard start. Sharks, Panthers, Roosters, Storm, and a high-flying Eagles side. That was their first 5 games. 3 of them away from home. They still came out with 2 wins. Okay, let's carry on. So after they lost at home to the Storm, they came out with a vengeance. And they killed the Dogs. 16-50, they killed the Dogs. Then they destroyed the Dolphins. And the Dolphins aren't some B-grade team. The Dolphins have been doing really good this season. Boom, Rabbits stomped them. They beat the Panthers. They were at home. They got a win over the Panthers. But hey, it's a win. And then they came out and they demolished the Broncos, who in my eyes the second best team this season. Rabbits, Broncos. That's my order. And yes, and the Rabbits destroyed their closest competition. Then they came over here and they destroyed the Storm. And both these games were away games, and they got not just dominant victories, not just wins, dominant victories over those 2 top teams. And this is where we sit right now. They're on a 5-game win streak, and heading into the next round against the Tigers, heavy favourites here against the Tigers. So they're more than likely going to make it 6 wins here. Then they've got to play the Eels and the Raiders. Now, either one of these 2 teams could upset the Rabbits. These are moderate threats, but the Rabbits are at home in both of these games and would be considered the favourites in both of these games. Now, if they can just get past these 2 games, they're away. Then they play the Titans. Well, now again, depending on how the Titans keep playing, they looked really good last week. But I mean, if they can keep that, even if they keep that up, they'd still be considered a 50-50 against the Rabbits. If not, Rabbits would be the favourites. But I don't think the Titans can keep that kind of form up. As a Roosters fan, it was horrible what happened. But Rabbits will be the favourites. Rabbits will be the favourites here against the Dragons. And quite likely, they could go on to win these 5 games. Like I said, I know Eels are a moderate threat, Raiders are a moderate threat. We may even have to upgrade the Titans to a moderate threat. So they've got two heavy favourite victories coming up for them, unless there's a massive upset here. And 3 games, again, more likely to win than they are to lose. They'd still be the favourites, but if they lost them, no one would be that upset. But if they do manage to pull that off, they'll be on a 10-game win streak going into the bye. Now, this ain't a big 1 in a million chance of them winning all 5 of these games. If there was a bet on for them to win these 5 games, I'd take it. Because they're the odds-on favourites to win every single one of these games. So it's very likely they could be on a 10-game win streak going into the bye here. And then they come out and they play the Cowboys and they play the Warriors. They'll be the favourites in both of those games too. Then at home against the Dogs, heavy favourites. So again, very likely they could be up to 13-game win streak going into this bye. And now here comes their first real challenge they've had for a while. So, it might be a good idea to bet on the Broncos to beat their win streak at this point. But that being said, if the Rabbits, they should win at least 8 out of 10 of these games, right? They should have it. If they don't win all of them, they'll win most of them. So they'll be flying high. They'll be the head-on favourites, coming off a bye at home. So you know they're going to be the favourites in this game. Fresh off the bye, at home, playing the Broncos. Tough game for them. Then they'll be the favourites in this one against the Tigers. The Sharks are here, but again, the Rabbits are at home, so the Rabbits will probably be considered the favourites here. Then they play the Dragons at home, and then they play Newcastle. They'll still be the favourites there. So, because if you do give them the favourites just because they're fresh off the bye when they play the Broncos, and they are at home here against the Sharks, like the 50-50 games. These two games are 50-50, but the Rabbits fresh off the bye at home and at home. So I'd still consider them the favourite in all of these games. So that could take them to 18 win streak. Quite possibly. It's very realistic. Then they get another bye, and they come off the bye, fresh off the bye, to play the Roosters. Now, it just seems a little conspicuous to me that their two hardest games at the end of the season, they're fresh off the bye at home for. It's like they've been set up to win this grand final. They're going to be going into the top 8 so confident and just immortal status here. And then they play the Roosters, which is their grudge game right before the top 8. So they get that top 8. They get like a free top 8 game right here to really, you got a couple of easy games coming into it, leading into it. Then you got the bye. But just to make sure you're ready, for finals football, they give you the Roosters right there at the end for you. So, that's just my prediction. The Roosters are going to go into the top 8 on a 19-game win streak. Heavy favourites to go all the way. And can they win the actual whole thing? Possibly. Like, anyone can beat them. The NRL are so close this season. But I'd say the Rabbits are the odds-on favourite to win it. That's my prediction. We're going to have the Rabbits on a 20-game plus win streak by the time they get to the finals. And more than likely, they're going to win it. What do you guys reckon?